I want to thank President Trump for bringing this amazing victory. That's the name for it. That's a victory. He deserves a Nobel Prize for this, a Nobel Peace Prize for bringing this amazing deal. And we're waiting for the next few days to see the hostages actually coming back alive.
Calls in the streets of Tel Aviv today for President Trump to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize as he celebrates a monumental moment for the Middle East, announcing Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of his historic peace plan. Welcome back as America Reports rolls into a second hour. I'm John Roberts, and good to spend Thursday afternoon with you.
You as well, John. Good to see you. I'm Jillian Turner. Sandra Smith is off today. So right now we're learning that Steve Witkoff, the president's special envoy, and Jared Kushner are meeting with Israeli President Herzog in Jerusalem. What you are seeing on your screen are scenes of celebration playing out across Israel today after the announcement of the peace deal that is aiming to end the 2-year-long war in Gaza. Here's President Trump taking a victory lap of his own at today's cabinet meeting.
We reached a momentous breakthrough in the Middle East, something that people said was never going to be done. We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace. And I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace. Peace in the Middle East. We secured the release of all of the remaining hostages, and they should be released on Monday or Tuesday. Getting them is a complicated process. I'd rather not tell you what they have to do to get them. There are places you don't want to be, but we are getting the hostages back on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, and that'll be a day of joy. I'm going to try and make a trip over. We're going to try and get over there. And we're working on the timing, the exact timing. We're going to go to Egypt, where we'll have a signing, an additional signing. We've already had a signing representing me, but we're going to have an official signing. And very importantly, the hostages are coming back. As you know, they consider them hostages. They talk about them as hostages, but there are approximately 28 dead people, mostly young, mostly men. But and boys. I mean, boys. The one woman talked about her baby. Her baby's 25 years old, but you know, to her it's her baby, and we're bringing them home. We're getting everything, and to those parents, the dead young man is just as important as though this person were alive. It's amazing. I've never seen anything quite like it. I've been very much involved. I've never seen anything quite like it. But it's really peace in the Middle East. And you remember October 7th was terrible, but also from the Hamas standpoint, they probably lost 70,000 people. That's big retribution. That's big retribution. But at some point, that whole thing has to stop. And we're going to see to it.
The president also noting an overwhelmingly positive response from the legacy media, like this.
This is a huge accomplishment by the Trump administration.
I think this is news to celebrate.
This is a major breakthrough and a huge accomplishment for the president.
If we see those remaining hostages freed and Israel begin its withdrawal, it is a remarkable achievement, and President Trump most certainly deserves credit for his role.
I can remember in the month or so after October 7, an Israeli senior official saying to me, we are so disoriented and traumatized by this war. The United States is going to have to make decisions for us. Joe Biden could never do that. And Donald Trump was able to do it.
Let's bring in David Friedman, former U.S. ambassador to Israel. And I guess my first reaction, Mr. Ambassador, is how about that?
How about that? And it's all well deserved. I mean, I don't think anyone else could have done it. Look, the Biden and Obama administrations were a series of perpetual, red lines that they permitted to be breached. And in the Middle East, you can't do that. Nobody took it seriously. In the Middle East, different part of the world, people look at you and they ask, does this guy mean what he says? Does he have the courage of his convictions? And with President Trump, look, here's a guy who sent B-1 bombers on a 37-hour mission to thread a needle and take out the nuclear reactor in Fordo. That's a guy that means what he says that you're going to pay attention to. And only President Trump, in probably the history of presidents and their interaction in the Middle East, has the credibility to do something like this.
Mr. Ambassador, a lot of people have talked about the Trump foreign policy doctrine for years. I don't think it has ever been as sharply in focus as it became yesterday when we got word that the first phase of this peace deal was going to get inked.
Well, yeah, look what he did. He took the entire Arab world, some countries that had strong relations with America, some that didn't, some that were cold. He took the entire Arab world and he put them on one side with Israel, right? And then he put Hamas on the other side. Hamas was completely isolated with the exception, of possibly Iran, which, the U.S. and Israel had already decapitated. No one else has been able to do that. And Hamas realized they had no place to go but to a deal. And it was only, when they came to that realization, they looked around, they saw they had no friends anywhere in the world, including Qatar, including Egypt. They had no friends anywhere in the world, that they were compelled to take this course. And, this is why, I'm in Israel now. This is why in Israel, President Trump, if you told me his approval rating was 95%, I would tell you you're probably low. That's how popular he is right now.
Well, we see people celebrating in the streets, and this just crossing the wire moments ago. Gaza Hamas chief says we declare an end to the war today and the start of a permanent ceasefire. Apparently, along with that, they're going to open the Rafah crossing in both directions. I mean, Mr. Ambassador, there's a lot of promise in what we've been hearing in the last 24 hours, but Hamas does not have a good track record of living up to a lot of their commitments. I mean, they're basically signing on to their demise. And I would hazard a guess that there are some people within the Hamas, the remaining Hamas organization, who are saying, why are you doing this?
Well, again, they have no choice. It's a question of getting, giving up the hostages, ending this conflict. Look, if you take a helicopter over this region right now, there's no doubt who won the war and who lost the war. I mean, this is not a debatable point. Hamas has brought nothing but destruction and misery upon their people. They've lost any support from within their own people. We're hearing stories now of people in Gaza who are beginning to take up arms against Hamas. This is their way out. Some of them will get amnesty. Some of them will find, a place to hide out in some godforsaken country. But this is the best they can do. And I think they realize that, and they can, they've thought about it. They're not stupid people. They're people who every day calibrate their leverage and what they can do and what they can't do, and how to use the hostages in the most way. And they've come to the conclusion, probably reluctantly, they just can't do any better than this, and that's all because, I believe, of the efforts of President Trump.
And, sir, also most certainly because of the efforts of the IDF. Part of the sadness in all of this is that the reality is the IDF would not have gotten to this, or Israel and Hamas would not have gotten to this place where this breakthrough is possible if they had not continued the military campaign, if they had not decimated Gaza, if they had not taken so many lives. It took the military campaign to bring the two sides to this moment in time, to this negotiation.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And the military has performed magnificently, and we are all aware of all the incredible intelligence coups that were done, in Lebanon with Nasrallah and the Pagers and the Beepers and Khania. I mean, all kinds of incredible things. And remember one thing about the Israeli army, it's 80% of it are reservists. I've got relatives who have spent 400 days of the last 700 days in the army. They're not soldiers anymore. They're in the reserves. They've got businesses. They've got families. That's typical. 400 out of 700 days away from home, risking your life. And so they've gone above and beyond the call. And frankly, they're entitled to arrest as well. And I think the country, in addition to all the celebrations about the hostages, are celebrating the fact that people are getting families back from war as well.
So there's a lot of talk, Mr. Ambassador, about whether or not President Trump will be recognized for this. Bibi Netanyahu sending out on X this morning a picture of him awarding the Nobel Peace Prize to President Trump. He has certainly nominated him for that. Do you think that the Nobel Committee would award the prize to President Trump?
I think he deserves far better. I've been impressed with the candidates in the past who have won this award. President Obama won it. I didn't think he deserved it. Yasser Arafat, for God's sake, got a Nobel Prize 20-something years ago. So, not impressed with the with the award or if the president wants it, I hope he gets it. But I think what he's done here is worth far, far more than an award in Oslo.
Well, Mr. Ambassador, thanks for joining us today to take a moment to celebrate this breakthrough and look forward. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.